And welcome to this YHC Exclusive. We're along with Chris Shelton today of R.O.C.K Ministries. And Chris, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I appreciate it.
Sure. You've got quite a background, which we'll get to in just a moment. And you've just written a book kind of explaining your career and background going up over the years, and a lot to talk about. And we're going to get into it. And first of all, just talk about what you're doing right now.
Well, right now I'm the pastor of Reach Out Christ Kingdom R.O.C.K Ministries. We're in Piggott, Arkansas. I've got the book that we've authored, It's Okay You're With My Father, a child abuse investigator's call to the church. And we're currently involved in promoting a new event, which is the next step for the ministry in the book, which is called A Call to Honor. And our first event's going to be in Paragould, Saturday, April 20th at 6 p.m. at the Paragould Community Center.
Okay, so a lot going on. With what you're doing. So a lot of background to it as well, which we'll get to. And let's just talk about your early background and how it all developed into what you're doing today, and just talk about what you did in your early life.
Well, I joined the Army right out of high school. I thought it would be a good thing to do, and I'm the first person in my family to complete a college degree, and I was able to use my GI benefits to help do that. At the time, I had to go combat arms to get the college money, so I went infantry, advanced infantry, airborne, ranger indoctrination. I used my GI benefits to complete a teaching degree in sociology. And I was recruited to be a counterintelligence special agent out of the Washington, D.C. area, where I served another 5 years and was awarded a meritorious service medal. But I realized that I couldn't be the kind of husband and father that I personally wanted to be, traveling 30,000 flight miles a year, and a lot of stress that puts on a family. So I went ahead and resigned, and we moved back to the Boot Heel here to raise our son by grandparents.
Okay, so you spent a lot of time dealing with child abuse and everything that goes along with that, so that's a tough field to be in.
Yeah, you know, I've always had a heart for children and families, and I was very fortunate when I moved back to this area. They had an opening for a child abuse investigator out of the Jonesboro area, and I jumped right on it. And I put in 10 years in child protective services throughout the northeast Arkansas area, and we had cases that crossed over into Missouri as well.
Sure. And dealing in that career, it's got to take an emotional toll at some point, whether it's daily or monthly, and just seeing that day in and day out, and still yet having to go home to your family, where it's just a much different landscape that you're dealing with. So just talk about kind of the day in, day out things that you had to deal with in that job.
I was prepared for what I'd see doing this line of work, but I wasn't prepared for how much of it. I mean, this is the heartland of America, Bible Belt America. You just don't think you'd see that much of it. And it's not that this is a bad area. This is a good area. I think that this is a national problem, and I personally think it's due to the breakdown in American families. But as a Christian, I'd find myself often praying about the cases, and I actually always went out with two prayers. One was that I saw everything I needed to see to make sure that a child was safe, and the other was that I saw everything I needed to see to make sure somebody wasn't wrongly accused. Sure,
and there's always that balance, you have to deal with, and that makes it tough as well. And now what made you make the transition from you mentioned how you transitioned out of it with your family, and basically what was your next goal from that transition to work into?
I spent hours in court waiting to testify, and I just kept seeing all these broken families, and I just found myself praying, Father, what can we do to help here? And I just felt the Lord calling me to go to ministry school, and God opened the door. I went to ministry school at Christian Family Fellowship right out in Poplar Bluff. Pastor Kevin McAnulty, he's my senior pastor, and that's where I'm ordained through. But I tell a story in the book about a man that's walking along the river, and he sees a person drowning, so he does what anybody would, and he pulls the person out. Well, then there's another person drowning, and another person drowning, and this keeps up till the first person's exhausted, and he's laying at the side of the river, and he can't even go in, but there's still people drowning, and another person comes running upside the stream, and the first person says, stop, people are drowning, I'm exhausted, I need help, and the second person says, don't stop me, I'm trying to get upstream to stop the person who's throwing him in. And I think, being a child abuse investigator, you're pulling one person out at a time, and that's a good thing, but it's very limited. It's very exhausting. As a pastor, I have a little bit bigger platform that I can try to make a bigger difference, but with the book, I can reach out on a national level and try to make a difference and break some of these cycles.
Sure. And, that's the thing that you talk about. You can only do so much, it seems like, trying to help one by one by one. But, this is a bigger problem that's more, wide ranging than we believe, that we think. So trying to get to the crux of that problem, or the thing that's causing these problems, that's the much more difficult task, but certainly worth going for.
We have to, at some point, break the cycles. And I personally think one of the ways to do it is we have to restore the family. And the way to restore the family is we have to reach out to men. If we can reach out to men and heal them, they can go back and heal their families, and their families are going to be able to heal America.
Sure, and it's certainly the goal. And talking about your book now, a lot of instances that you go into, just things that you go in day in and day out in that job, and how you tie it into the Word of God, and how it's going to play a role in changing hearts and rebuilding families. And some of the one of these instances are it's pretty heartbreaking once you get into these different circumstances that people are in, and it's going to really tug at people once they take a look at it.
Yeah, these are actual cases that I was involved in. Now, I don't identify anybody, and I don't go into graphic details. I only tell what I needed to tell to bring up the opportunity where a church can make a difference. So, and again, this is just 104 pages. It's just a $10 book, but everybody that reads it, they leave inspired to try to make a difference.
Sure. And what? So I know we talked about the theme of the book is, talking about the Word of God and the role that church can play in, helping people through this. So, is there anything to expand upon that? How the book details that?
There's an incredible opportunity for the church today, but we have to be reaching out to people. And we have to be reaching out in love, not condemnation. We have to be reaching out, trying to break the cycles. Statistically, we know that 1 in 4 girls is molested before adulthood, and that's just an insane number in America. We also know that 1 in 6 boys is molested before adulthood, and in the boys' cases, they have more than likely not discussed it with anybody. So actually, I know 1 in 4 ladies that are watching the show right now, and 1 in 6 boys or men today, they've probably had to deal with this in their life at some point. The book does have a chapter on what to do in the event that you have been molested. It can help with some healing right there. And the other side of it is, if you're involved with children in any way, shape, or form, if you have your own family, if you're involved in a school or a church youth group, this tells you what to be looking for to help to be aware if there is a problem. One of the worst cases I mentioned in the book, the girl had managed to be invited to a summer youth camp, and she told the youth director about what was going on, and he reported it to the child abuse hotline.
Okay.
Now, the other thing I'd like to mention is there is a desperate need for foster parents. And the government today seems to be trying to keep the church out for some reason, but there's such a need in this area that this is an incredible opportunity for the church. So many people say they want to have a ministry, but they don't know how to go about it. Well, all you have to do is pick up the phone and contact your local Department of Human Services and tell them you're interested in being a foster parent. I tell people to do it prayerfully, but it's an incredible opportunity. You can make a difference not only to the child, but you can make a difference to the family as well, because for the most part, most of these people aren't horrible people. They just come from horrible backgrounds. And if you're the right kind of a Christian family, you can reach out and not only make a difference in the child's life, but you can help heal the family too.
Sure. And you always hear statistics about, foster kids needing homes, and there's a lot of homes out there for kids that they currently don't have, and that's what they desperately need.
It's a critical problem. It's not uncommon for a child. Here's the other side of it. You walk into a bad situation where you have to take a child, and it's not something you do lightly, because when you take a child that you're causing harm right there. You only take a child in the event that you have to protect them from imminent risk of harm. But then when you take them, then all of a sudden you have to figure out, okay, now where am I going to put them? And you want to try to find the best foster home available. You want to try to keep sibling groups together. You want to keep them as close to their friends and family as possible. But if they're not there, they're just not there. And it's not uncommon for us to have to, here you're in the, out, like, well, one of the last cases I recently worked before leaving the state was I was out in the middle of the night with the sheriff's office, and I picked up 3 children from a drug house. And so now, I'm out there at 4:30 in the morning where the whole house has been arrested. And matter of fact, the one child was asleep on the couch, and right at his head there at the lampstand, there was a hemostat with a burnt tip of a marijuana cigarette and an empty beer there, and there was also a meth pipe that was found in the house. But now I've got to figure out, where you're going to take them after that. And wouldn't it be an incredible opportunity? I always like to speak to the churches, and if every church as a ministry had a foster home in that church that they supported, and not just financially, but in prayer and just encouragement, you'd have a plethora of homes that you could call that were people wanting to make a difference. And then the other side of it is being involved in the system. If they saw needs that people needed to help do their jobs, they could go to their state legislatures, and not in a negative way, but in a very positive way, and say, look, I'm a foster parent and I see the needs out here, and we need to make sure these guys have the tools they need to do the job.
Sure. And talking about your book, where is it available and how can people get their hands on it?
The book is available through any major bookstore. It's also available online. If somebody goes to our website, which is www.reachoutchrists, with an S, no apostrophe, kingdom.org. That's www.reachoutchristskingdom.org. There's sample chapters on the book, and there's also links to Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble.
Okay, so easy to get your hands on online and at the website that he provided. So only, $10 for this book?
It's just 104 pages. It's just $10. It's a great witnessing tool, because a lot of people that won't read the Bible or they won't read a Christian tract, they're not going to be able to put this down if they pick it up, and it does have the gospel message in it.
Sure. And coming from your background, it's certainly going to tug at people's hearts about what you saw on a day-to-day basis and how we can go about, like you say, breaking the cycles of this problem with child abuse. So it's a good read. Be sure to get your hands on it if you can and take a look, and certainly provide a message going forward about when it comes to children's safety and just building stronger families going forward. So with this book, you've been fortunate to come across some quite interesting folks, and we actually had the fortunate experience of meeting Meadowlark Lemon. He was in around the Piggott area recently.
He really enjoyed his time with you too, by the way. I could tell he really enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. And I just love how God works. You can just see His hand in things. But the person that wrote the foreword in my book, and I didn't know it at the time, but they wrote an endorsement in Meadowlark Lemon's book. And they called me and asked if I wanted to meet Meadowlark Lemon. So you know how quick that took me to say yes. And that was an incredible opportunity, because he's an ordained minister now. He's a very inspirational man, incredible hero for this country. Great book. I'd recommend his book, Trust Your Next Shot. But I was surprised to get a call from him not too long after that. Basically, he said he couldn't get the book and our ministry off his mind, and he was coming through the area and he wanted to visit. And what he didn't know is I'd been praying for an opportunity for an outreach for quite a while, and he was so big. I hit him up. I said, "Do you mind? You're so big. Can we hit you up to do a community outreach while you're in the area?" And he said that was cool, and he had a really good time.
Sure, and what a message he has. He had a rough upbringing, and being one of the famous sports figures in America with the Harlem Globetrotters for so many years, and now transitioning into the ministry. It's quite a story he has.
There's a story in his book, and as a veteran, it touches me personally, but. And it's hard to believe that this, is still in our lifetimes. But he served in the military, and he was coming home in uniform from serving honorably in the military, and he couldn't sit on the bus because there wasn't an area for black people to sit on the bus, and he had to stand in his military uniform. And he said he turned his head because he didn't want anybody to see him crying in his military uniform. And as a veteran, I would have liked to have been there and had his back. But to have gone through that and to have the heart that this man has, and to be the ambassador of joy that he's been. We're very, very fortunate that he has made us a part of his family, and we don't take that lightly. Our family loves him dearly.
Sure, yeah, quite a figure in Meadowlark Lemon. It was certainly a privilege to meet him and hear him speak about his lifetime and his work in the ministry worldwide. And you're working on a big project coming up in April that people might take some interest in as well.
Yeah, it's the next step for our ministry. Again, it's wanting to reach out and make a difference, but it's called a call to honor. And the thing is it's come. I just feel like the word revival has lost its impact. It's lost its meaning, even in the church. So, what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to have an event that's going to reach out to people for honor. And if we can instill honor, if we can restore that honor in people, I was raised on King Arthur and the Three Musketeers and Robin Hood, and I just have a feeling too many men today have been raised on Jerry Springer and MTV Spring Break. And we need to get back to that honor. And I believe if we can get back to that honor, that's going to lead to revival, and people are going to make a difference. And we've been very fortunate, again, through the book. Acton Bowen, who's the Faith and Religion contributor and a New York Times bestsellers with Fox News, he's behind our event, Call to Honor, and he's going to be out at the Paragould Rally. And Buddy Mullins, the former lead singer with the Gaither vocal band, he's on their Testify album, he's going to be at that event. And our state senator has contacted me. He wants to be a part of the event, not to speak, because this isn't a political event. This is bipartisan, interdenominational, but it's a call to honor. And we're reaching out in the spirit of Stand in the Gap, but it's not a men's-only event. But we're reaching out to our young people, our men, our young ladies, our business leaders, our civic leaders, our religious leaders, to come on out and be inspired to go back and make a difference.
Sure. So it's a big deal coming up, and that's in Paragould, is that right?
It's at the Paragould Community Center. It's Saturday, April 20th at 6 p.m. at the Paragould Community Center.
Okay.
And it's free admission. There will be a love offering at the event. If people want to be a part of this or want to help, of course, keep the event in prayer. But we have a website, and I don't know if it's quite up yet today. It's either going to be up today or very quickly, but it's www.calltohonor.org.
Okay, so that's something to look forward to in April. That's April 20th?
Saturday, April 20th.
Saturday, April 20th. Big deal going on there in Paragould with that rally. So a lot of things going on, Chris.
And again, very fortunate to be here with you. I really appreciate you, and thank you for all your support and being at these events. It meant a lot.
Sure. Yeah, anything that's going on locally that's certainly worthwhile, we want to be a part of and promote. So what you're doing is great. I know when people read this book, take a look at it, they'll be touched by it, and just it'll be an eye-opener about what's going on out there and what steps we need to do to rectify those problems out there, and basically bringing God into more lives here in America.
Yeah, I think sometimes either the church isn't aware of the problem, or they think it's too big of a problem. But really, if we break this down, if everybody would do what they know is the right thing to do, and then if the churches would do what they know is the right thing to do, there's really very little we can't solve and that we can't handle locally.
Sure, and we want to help with the fight in that regard, and appreciate you coming up today and talking about your book and what all is going on with R.O.C.K Ministries and what you're doing here locally. And we invite you to stay in touch with us, and so we can let everyone know out there what's going on.
Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate you, and God bless all you're doing.
All right, that's Chris Shelton with R.O.C Ministries.